Are you sitting comfortably? And then I shall begin. Those of a bit older than me, coming from England, will remember that little saying. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. What was your first thought this morning? Do you remember? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back a video or two. And I spoke about establishing mindfulness the minute you wake up. You know, if we can have mindfulness just for a moment in any day, you are on the way to enlightenment. And by mindfulness, I don't mean a modern, trendy way of being. I don't mean anything out of this world or spiritual. Just pure, conscious awareness of the moment here and now. And that is best represented in each and every breath. This establishes your conscious awareness not only in the moment, because we breathe in and we breathe out in real time. We're not thinking of the last breath or the next. Just this breath, here and now. And it is bringing your awareness also into the body. And it is from this body where we can learn everything. From this body's interactions with our thinking mind, producing all kinds of emotions, resulting in corresponding physical feelings. Creating these emotions from what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, feel. Sorry, touch is feel. But then think about those sense impressions, those 5 sense impressions. And then with this thinking, most uncontrollable, all-encompassing, holistic, sensual experience that we have, there is the least control. We can close our eyes if we don't want to see. We can not listen or block our ears if we don't want to hear. Do this if we don't want to smell. Don't eat something if you don't like the taste. If it's too hot, keep cool. If it's too cold, keep warm. But you cannot stop thinking. What you can do is stop, and you can watch thinking. And this is where I say, on waking each and every day, try and be aware, and then remember your first thought. It establishes your focus in mindfulness here and now, from the moment you wake, when you begin your day, which is the best way to begin. We start as we mean to go on. Once you've trained yourself to recognize the first thought, it will eventually become automatic to consider each and every thought as you proceed through your day for what it is. Only a reaction of conditions, of causes, of your surroundings, which largely you put in place yourself through actions of body, speech and mind. But also external conditions that cannot be controlled, like these internal storms of your mind, with thinking positive, thinking negative, and even the calmness of neutral thinking. You can see the similarity with the weather cycles of stormy weather, calm weather, hot, cold, pleasant, unpleasant, positive, neutral, negative. There's no need to judge or react on your impression from this first thought. Just be aware. Maybe note, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? Whether it's positive or negative is largely irrelevant, because this is as a result of causes and conditions which may not continue, well, certainly will not continue to be the same. If you're happy because it's Monday, then you may not be happy about it being Tuesday. But if you're sad because it's Monday, you may not be sad when it becomes Tuesday. External influence is always changing, as is your thinking mind with its perception. So we learn to just understand it for what it is, know the nature of its impermanence, good or bad, and look for that neutral ground. So, with this in your mind for reflection, and with a goal for tomorrow to remember when we wake up that first thought, and then bring our attention straight to the breath, I wanted to talk about travel. A traveller's tales. It is not. I have so few tales. I've done a lot of travelling in my life, actually, but in recent years, mileage-wise, considerable amount of travelling. But I didn't look into this practice. I didn't go in the direction of Buddhism with any aspirations or views or expectations of travel. In fact, quite the opposite. My first experience of this practice was, in fact, meditation, as you may know, as I've said before, and that led me towards Buddhism, because meditation without Buddhism, there was something missing. And Buddhism added the other two aspects, being sila, moral virtue, and panya, wisdom. Meditation is samadhi. Sila, samadhi, panya. Samadhi without sila and without panya is great. It's fantastic. It's better than watching TV. It's better than going to a nightclub or to a bar or to a good restaurant. But really only because it's free, it's accessible, and you can do it any time. Otherwise the effect, the end result, is really as an impermanent and temporary. Apart from the long-lasting result of training the mind and focusing the mind, it is still an impermanent aspect of gaining joy, gaining happiness, maybe relaxation, mental calmness, physical relaxation, but only through doing something. When you learn through developing wholesome mind states and reducing unwholesome mind states, by keeping moral virtue and developing this wisdom, sila and panya, that in conjunction with samadhi, meditation, as its supporting foundations, builds a far stronger experience of meditation, an overall feeling of mental calmness, physical relaxation, which is permanent and continues throughout your day, throughout your life, withstanding all vicissitudes of life, all of the storms there are for us to face, and enable us to face our problems head on, rather than hiding away in something like meditation or hiding away from something like entertainment. So we go on holiday, and we do all deserve holidays. If you're not taking holidays, take holidays. No one's going to thank you when you're dead. They may, in passing. You're not going to know about it. Look after yourself, be kind to yourself, have holidays. But what do we do when we have a holiday? Let's say on average, and I'm talking generally speaking. The tendency is to go to somewhere with nice weather, hot, try and sit around and do nothing. Of course, there's all manner of experiences and holidays and action holidays, and I appreciate that many people watching this may do all sorts of really interesting, wholesome, beneficial, skillful and super duper holiday things. But really it's all the same. We're all going out there on this break from our mundane, as we may see it, day-to-day life of work, home, eat, sleep, work, home, you know, this cycle. Broken up by a break for a couple of weeks or a week or a few days in a different environment, seeing different things, hearing different things, smelling different things, tasting different things, touching and feeling different things, and provoking different thoughts. Hopefully relaxing our minds through this external stimulation. Laying on the beach all day long, burning ourselves, getting too hot, getting in the sea, getting cooled down, getting a cold drink, getting hot again. This, again, repetitive cycle. After a couple of weeks it may get a bit boring also, and you're happy to get back, get home to your other old routine. More perhaps mentally stimulating work that you have. You may take, though, a book with you and sit on the beach reading a book. Why have you gone there? You can do this anyway, read a book, can't you? But each to their own, it's a break. But what are we doing in that break? We're still not facing up to the truth. We're not facing up to reality. We're getting away from it all. They say that, let's get away from it all. What happens when you get there? I mean, firstly, when do you get there? It's now again, isn't it? It's here and now. It's no longer in the future and it's not in the past. And 2 weeks later when you get home, when is it? It's now. It's here, it's now again. It's always here and now. Firstly, that's timeless. Here and now is ever present to the conscious awareness. When you get there, what comes with you? Okay, you're seeing different things, hearing different things, smelling different things, tasting different things. You may be a bit warmer and not so cold. This mind's still in the office for a few days, or at school, or at home, or missing someone, or glad to be away from someone. And then once it eventually settles down, and it hasn't got anything to worry about, well, what should we do tomorrow? What should we go and see? What sights should we see? Where should we visit? What water sports should we take up? What mountain should we climb? What book shall I read next? Oh, why did you ever leave the bookstore? They have them in the airports, many bookstores. I've bought books myself in the airports in the past, and very beneficial they've been too. I've read Dharma books that you can get there, and others too, on different aspects of what we have so-called spirituality, spirituality. I dislike that word so much I can't get it to come out of my mouth. Spiritual seeker. That's what I'm coming to. So we travel. We could go travel looking for some change. You know, you don't need to go anywhere. Like you're thinking. Stop and watch thinking. You don't need to try and stop thinking. And if you stop and stay in one place, you'll see the world. It'll come by you. If you run around the world looking for all the things you think you're going to see, you miss so many things on the way. And then when you get there, you bury your face in a book. Or you spend your entire time taking photographs of something, which National Geographic or many other professional photographers have more than likely done countless times, much better than you ever will succeed in doing before you. So just Google the place you're going to. Don't even go there, and look at the pretty pictures if that's what you want to do. I'm trying not to sound facetious and critical. I'm just highlighting what we all do when we're really just running away from ourselves. But when we run away from ourselves, what do? We take ourselves with us. Okay, we don't pack ourselves up in the suitcase and take us. We carry the suitcase. And who's carrying the suitcase? That very person you're running away from. So in India, the most common questions you are asked as a foreigner, and if you're a foreigner in India, it's known, you look foreign. If you're in the main tourist places, I wouldn't know so much about, because I haven't been in Thailand or in India or any of the many countries I've visited really recently. Oh, not many, in my life many, but recently the few countries I've not been to the tourist places. I don't go to the tourist places. I can look at them on Google. I can watch them on YouTube if I was that way inclined. I could even go almost 3D on Google Earth and street walk through Chiang Mai and Bangkok and all of these places in this beautiful country. All the places, when I speak to people in England about living in Thailand, oh, you've been to this place, I've been to that place, have you been to... No? What, haven't you? Have you been to this place? No. I know what it's like. I've been down Koh San Road on street walking on Google Earth. And really that's as close as I'd want to get to that experience, to be honest with you. But any of these things are great experiences, yes, in our lives. But when we're coming to this Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, or just really trying to understand the meaning of life and existence and the truth and looking towards enlightenment, which is probably why you would be watching this video. Because if you want to watch videos about travel and experiences in Thailand, there's so many, millions of them on YouTube, you'd be watching those. Which is why I don't show you those things. Because there would be so many more views on this channel and people watching it, but that's not why I'm doing this, of course. I'm wanting to share my experience of the Buddha's teachings, or of putting the teachings of the Buddha into practice in everyday life. So these common questions you're asked, or if you're out and about in India, real India, in the villages and in the rural areas and outside of tourist places. Firstly, they usually speak some English quite well, because it's their second common language that's made up of many states all speaking different languages, and they have two common languages, Hindi and English. And forgive me all the Indians watching that you already know this, but the rest of the world doesn't necessarily. So you'll be all sitting there saying, correct, correct, as you like to say. And acha, which means good. So acha and correct, the main questions are, and correct me if I'm wrong, are which country, you always asked, which country? And of course, my answer is UK, or UK. And then that's usually a bit confused. Often if you say Britain or British, it's more understood. probably from memories of the past. The second popular question these days is selfie. And they wave the phone at you like this: selfie, selfie. They want a selfie with this funny coloured face. And then, and this is now to the more traditional questions, really, before selfies and before, a lot of travel, a lot of the country thing has been a more recent thing, because they're used to now many people coming from many different countries. Whereas before, a foreigner was a foreigner, and it didn't matter where you came from. So yeah, the third now, which used to be the most popular question, is where are you going? Now for me that was always difficult, because I never really knew. If I had an idea, when I was first there, I was on a pilgrimage, so I was going from around the 4 main Buddhist holy sites and a few of the others, because there are 8, but I only managed to get around a couple of the others in the time I had. So I had a destination. But if the subsequent visits, I had never had a destination. I was just wandering. So where are you going was a difficult one to answer, but this is something they always ask, and made me think about what we're talking about today, actually, what I'm talking about today. And the next question, from some of them, especially when you are wearing robes, or even looking a little bit hippie-ish, is, what are you seeking? Or what are you looking for? But often, what are you seeking? Because of course a foreigner in India has to be a spiritual seeker. Of course, why not? I'm going to get absolutely hammered for saying this. It's the worst place to go if you're a spiritual seeker. Just go to the library or pick up your phone and watch some stuff on YouTube. There's so much distraction there, you're never going to get satisfactorily go down one route. Unless you're going on a purpose-made visit, like you purposely want to go to see the birth, enlightenment, first teaching and death place of the Buddha, or you want to, say, go and see a particular ashram or guru that you've heard teachings from. That's a different matter. That's not travelling, that's more pilgrimage. And pilgrimage and travel is so very different. But in terms of this practice, travel really doesn't come into it. What am I seeking? The truth is my answer. And people have all variety of views on that they want to share with you when you're travelling in India. And it's best just to listen and not disagree. And then you can move on to be asked the same question again very soon. But the point I'm making is, yes, I have been in the last few years in 3 different countries, but really not because that was what I planned or had set out to do. And I don't really consider myself a traveller. I consider myself a traveller in the sense of I don't have a fixed abode, much like the Romany gypsies of old times in my home country, and they are all around the world, and even modern day travellers. I've always been a little bit prone to just picking up a small bag and going on wandering, and not having a fixed base or somewhere to lay down at night, much like this monastic life. It's always suited me. And before coming into monastic life, I lived for 3 years in a van on a beach in England. And people then used to say, "Oh, where are you going to next? Where have you been? Oh, have you heard about this place where you can park overnight and stay in?" And I used to say, no, don't bother me with this. I don't care if this van doesn't even start. I'm staying here. I'm staying put. I have stopped. And people would not understand this. but that was my intention. I got rid of my accommodation, my flat that I had still ongoing, renting, like I mentioned in the previous video. I got rid of that. I waited until my mother and my sister and my family were away on holiday, and then because it's a small village where my mother lives, and then I handed my keys in and got rid of it and moved into an old van on the beach. And I didn't tell anybody about this because they would not have liked it at all. And I thought, well, then at least I would have been living like this for a couple of weeks or a few weeks before they realise. And I can say, well, so far so good. And it was the middle of winter, because they go in the winter for their little winter break. My family, that is. And so I picked the worst time. So they couldn't say, oh, well, you wait till it's winter, then you'll soon want to go back to your flat and then you'll regret it. You know, it's only out of concern. I know, you know, that I respect their care and love for me, that they would be concerned. But it was maybe a bit rash. But my intention eventually was to ordain as a monk. I had decided this by now. But the circumstances and my responsibilities were such that I couldn't. I still had responsibilities towards the family, also breaking them in gently. They gave me permission back in 2012 or 11. I got written permission from both my parents to become a monk. You have to have this permission before you can be ordained. It's a requirement. But it had taken me, I can't blame anything else, this long to decide. So I moved into this van on the beach. But it wasn't with the view to driving this van all around the amazing, beautiful places in England and Scotland and Wales, which is the United Kingdom, where I could have gone. I was able to work just 1 day a week from thereafter, or 2 days maybe, because I had no rent to pay. And my cost of living with just eating one meal a day, a very simple meal, was literally just less than pennies a day. If you included the costs of running the van and keeping it legal, I think I was living on less than a couple of pounds sterling a day. And for 3 years I did that, exactly 3 years. I didn't one night stay in a house. On occasions, every few months or 2 or 3 times a year, I would come to Thailand, either for 1 month and on a couple of occasions a bit longer, to stay in the monastery here. Again though, in a hut in the forest, no hotels and nothing like that. So firstly, people thought, yes, he's a traveller, he lives in a van, so he must travel all around his home country. No, I didn't. I had even stayed always in the same parking space, which up until not many months ago, and possibly still now, if you look at this space on Google Street Maps view, you can see the shape of my van in the grass where it was parked for 3 years. I just moved it to go to work once a week, to go to the laundrette once a week, and go shopping once a week, which I did on the way, all on the way to and from this job of work that I did. Other than that, for 7 or at least 5 or 6 days of the week, I did not move from this van. I sat in meditation all day, and if it got busy, it really only got busy at the weekends. That was when I was working, doing this very easy part-time job, which required no doing anything. I used to sit meditating at work. So then I was coming to Thailand, but from the airport, from Bangkok, I'd get the bus from Ekamai straight to here, this town, and then from here, occasionally if it was a difficult time of night, there's a friend I know in this town where I can stay until the following day if necessary, and I go straight to the monastery until it's the time to come home, and then straight back to Bangkok. I've never been to Chiang Mai. I've never seen anything of Thailand other than this town, this monastery now, and my other monastery in this town. apart from occasional, the odd funeral at the other one or two monasteries in this area, I've not seen any of this area. And when I first used to come to Thailand, I used to go to northeast Thailand, where there are the other two, the monasteries you may have heard from of Ajahn Chah, his monastery Wat Pa Pong, and the international forest monastery Wat Pa Nanachat in Ubon Ratchathani. And even there, I was just at the monasteries, or I had a place where I could stay near another monastery, because this was before I was a monk, and in Ubon Ratchathani, and I used to just spend the day in the monasteries. I went on one day a trip across to Laos, or to see Laos from the other side of the river, as you can from there. 1 day trip. That's it. In 9 years of coming to Thailand, that's all I've seen of Thailand. So I'm not an explorer, I'm not a traveller, I don't take photographs. I'll tell you why in a minute. And I went to Cambodia on my way back to England. No, I came back to England in 2019, and this was before COVID. And I thought, look, before I go and commit myself to Thailand, and I was already thinking of India at this stage, and ordain and become a monk for the rest of my life, I should just check out Cambodia. I had no interest in Sri Lanka or Myanmar for my own personal reasons. I didn't feel it would be suitable for me to ordain there. It's a different kind of practice. So I thought, well, I'll check out Cambodia. And in Cambodia, I literally just got on how did I get on the bus? I think it was bus there, yeah. I got to Phnom Penh. I didn't even go to Angkor Wat or all of these places. I didn't go to the killing fields. If there was a place to go to, I probably would have chosen to have gone there before Angkor Wat. I think more useful, more of a useful visit. But no, I went straight to the coast there, to Sihanoukville, where I knew there was some old sort of hippie places, which were no longer that. They'd become Chinese casinos and car parks. So I got on a boat and went to an island, and stayed on an island. It had a couple of resorts there, but I stayed sort of off the resorts, just on in a tent on the beach for the month. And once again, didn't move from that spot. But none of these spots I'd found yet. The beach in my van, or the tent in Cambodia, or really to some extent I hadn't really firmly made a decision on where I wanted to be in Thailand, and India was still left to consider. But what I was looking for, what was I seeking? The truth. To be able to sit and practice meditation, because where is the truth? The Buddha said to a passerby asking him about, well, he asked the question, where are you going? And he was going to this end of the world and all around the world and to this end of the universe and that end of the universe. And the Buddha said, stop. He said, all of the answers are there within this fathom-length body, this bag of skin full of bones and liquids and organs and things, with its emotions, physical feelings, your mental emotions. The answers are all there. Even if you travel to the ends of this universe and beyond, you'll find out nothing more than staying still and stopping. Because you take everything with you wherever you go. It's always here and it's always now. And you're always, your problems are your problems. They come with you. So you see your problems for what they are, identify them, understand them, accept them, or deal with them. And the only way to do that is through stillness. You settle and allow the body to relax. You settle and allow the mind to become calm. And through this process of just the physical act of meditation, you will develop samadhi. You will develop the ability to bring your conscious awareness to just one thing, and no longer be thinking about the next restaurant to go to, the next sightseeing trip, the next photograph to take, or even which book to put your nose into for the remaining days of your holiday. Because it's all there within you, the answers are there. So where are you going? Nowhere. What are you seeking? Nothing. Why are you here? To enjoy what I have, here and now, in this moment, which is contentment, which is happiness. So for all the travelling it seems I've done, I've seen very little. Eventually, we had this COVID pandemic thing came along, and I fortunately still had my beach spot to return to, and spent a 6-month stretch there without moving. It was bliss, it was perfect. If I could have continued as that, I possibly would not have ordained, because it was an ideal monastic life in my van on a beach. There was nobody allowed to go outside, so I was completely alone. But of course, that was never to be. It's back now, a busy beach. I think you even have to pay to park there now. So I knew that this was never a permanent feature, nor as nothing is in our lives. Everything is impermanent. So I was fortunate, though, to have that base, to spend a good 6 months. It was summertime in England then, so it was very, very pleasant. And no company, a little company occasionally, but nothing to distract me too much. And I was able to make my plans to go to India. And talking to my monastery there, and my teacher there, he could understand my frustration that I couldn't get there quite as quickly as I wanted to because of flights and problems with COVID and travel. But I was able to get there, even though mid-COVID, in October 2020, I arrived in India, the very beginning of October 2020. And that was when I was able to ordain. I was already known by the monastery through communication, because they have an association with my monastery here in Thailand. We have a video link once a week, so I wasn't new to them, and they know the monastery here in Thailand. So I wasn't turning up there for ordination as a stranger. I was already part of the family. So there I was able to take ordination, and to some extent the most travelling I've ever done was then after that, although it wasn't my intention. I intended to just stay put and meditate. But it was very busy, the monastery where I was, a big monastery with over 100 monks, and right in the middle of a city in South India. So I did want to go out and find more secluded environments, which with their permission I was allowed to do. But I still stayed in the same state, and I found a suitable place. There's many videos about that on here, and I stayed in that place. And once I'd found a place to stay, again, I didn't move. Many people would come and talk, tourists would say, "Oh, have you been here? Have you been there? Did you go to this monastery, this ashram?" No. Why? You know, why? I'm just here to stop and settle. That's it. Oh, sideways look. So we should stop seeking. Stop seeking and you will see. It's as simple as that. As long as you're running around looking, you won't find it. As a little child, what would your mother or father say to you? If you get lost in the big busy market or in the big busy department store, what would they say to you? You stay where you are. Stay put. And someone will come and find you. Why? Because if you keep moving around, you're harder to find. If you stay put, you will be found. Now in that 3 years, when I stayed put on that beach in South England, the south of England, I saw more going past through that van window or through my side door when it was open. It wasn't a camper van, by the way, and there are videos of this van on here if you go back so you can see it. When I last went to England, I stayed in it for its last time before it was scrapped. There's a video if you look back. I became quite attached to it, so it was a good experience taking it to be squashed at the scrapyard to really see how attached I had become. I think a tear came to the eye after 3 years of it being my home. Anyway, in that 3 years, looking out of that van window or out of that side door, I think I saw more passing me of the world than I would have ever seen driving around the world. People from all countries, all nations, speaking all languages. Every imaginable kind of weather, from -7 or 8 degrees and snow and ice to 42, 43 degrees of thinking I was going to completely roast in that tin box. I saw sad things, I saw happy things. I saw buildings coming and going in the distance, or going and then new ones coming. I saw COVID and what was the busiest motorway of an ocean, all of the shipping liners coming in and out of the Southampton dock and the Portsmouth docks, which are either side of where I was, go down to 0 ships for so long, apart from the odd emergency. I saw what used to be beautiful cruise liners and everyone's aspiration for a wonderful time and a holiday parked and transformed into hospitals and then morgues. I saw an empty beach, an empty ocean. I saw it packed solid previously. People, no room for their windbreakers. So much, and I didn't move from that spot. We spend so much time seeking we don't see. We're looking for what? Sometimes we don't know. We're looking to hide. From what? Ourselves. And what do we take with us? Ourselves. It's ourselves in this practice we're trying to let go of. Let go of that personality that we have created from our own perception of what is just purely the result of causes and conditions surrounding us. It's not us, it isn't your conscious awareness, which wherever you are throughout the world is awareness itself, is timeless, is locationless, is in fact deathless, ageless, and freedom from sickness. Because it's observing what is going on in this thinking mind and this physical body only. It isn't it. So this simple reflection in the morning brings you to all of this. And despite bringing my clock as large as it is, you can't see it here. I didn't look at the time when I started, and I don't know the time now because it's gone off again. And I ought to leave it there because I'm guessing again it's probably around 40 minutes, which is about right. And I've still got quite a bit more to say, but that will have to now wait for another day. So I hope if I've said anything at all that's useful, you can use it, and if not, don't. And if you'll allow me, I'll just give you a short blessing before I finish up. Sabitio vivajantu sabarogo vinyasatu mate bhavata vantarayo sukhiti kayuko bhavam bhavatu sabba mangalam ragantu sabba devata sabba buddha nupavena sabba dhamma nupavena Sabba sangha nupavena sada soti bhavantu te.